Hi, welcome to High on Utah. I'm Heather Groom. And today, welcome to 2026. That's what I wanted to tell you first. And it's been quite a ride, the end of 2025. And heading into this new year, it's going to be interesting to see what the markets do. We recently had some world events happen, as some of you know. I have a connection to Venezuela. I served an LDS mission there. And so, with the changes that are going to be happening there, that's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out on the world stage as well as the national stage, and then also on the state of Utah. Um, we've got legislative session that's also about ready to start. That always gets interesting because there's always bills that are being run impact real estate and especially investment properties and first time home buyer programs. So I'm also going to stay kind of watching those things as well to see what bills are passing and what the changes will be. So definitely stay in touch and stay in tune because we will be covering some of those changes as they happen as well. So, anyway, I've been getting a lot of messages about, if this is going to be a good time to sell a home or even possibly buy a home. Also, I'm getting some questions about investment properties. Probably in I'd say the last few years because of interest rates, I haven't had as many questions about investments as far as long term rentals or short term rentals. Definitely that happens when the market picks up. I get more calls on those. But right now, I am starting to get more calls and more inquiries. There have been a few programs that have passed, especially in like the big, beautiful bill. The triple B is what we sometimes refer to it as. There's some provisions for Airbnbs, a few things that a lot of people aren't really reporting about. And so maybe message me and I can talk to you about it and if it might work for you as well. But I think we're going to start seeing a better market. We already are seeing it this year. And even towards the end of last year, I'd say probably in about November, the market started picking up a little bit. And December was actually pretty crazy. We had a lot of listings went under contract that maybe had been on the market for a few months. There were more buyers willing to commit. And even though the Fed announced interest rate cuts, the rates actually sometimes go up initially and then they drop down. And so we saw the rates actually go up a little bit, but now they're coming back down again. And so I think right now is a great time to buy. Also, really a good time to sell. Typically, people wait to list their home until spring or summer and they usually don't think that this time of year is a good time to list. But our spring season in Utah actually starts early. A lot of times it starts in February, which definitely is not spring weather, but it will a lot of times start in February. Last year, we had just a very strange spring. It didn't really ever click. It was kind of a weird, strange year. But I'm already seeing that I think we'll have an early spring. We're already seeing putting some of the listings on right now. We've had a few where we've gone to multiple offer, depending on the price point. And that might also surprise you. So I'll give you a little rundown on that as well. But a lot of times, even luxury properties right now are getting a lot of attention because they haven't been building a lot of luxury properties in the last few years. Things have kind of slowed down. And so now we're getting more interest in those properties, and we don't have a lot of times the supply. And so if you're thinking of selling anything that's over a million, definitely message me and let's chat about it. And I can pull a report for you and kind of show you what things have sold for in your neighborhood. But also, kind of first time home buyer, I'd say over the last few years, those have still been selling a little slower, but they're still selling because there's always a need for people to move into a place and buy a home, and it still is the best investment. And where I'm starting to see is what we call kind of like the middle market. So anything at around 600,000 is considered middle market, and we are starting to see those homes move more. The reason they've been even slow the last little while is because a lot of times people can't justify it, or at least, they don't want to when they have a really low interest rate. Maybe they're in a townhome, like a three-bedroom townhome or a really small starter home, and they want to move to that next size home, but they just can't justify it because it meant, increasing their house payment by 50% because of the higher interest rate. And so that middle market has really been the hardest hit market. Most people assume it's luxury. What's interesting is that the luxury market, yes, it takes a little bit of a dip, but not too bad. And it's because there are always still people that have money to spend. Maybe they've sold a company, maybe they're retiring, whatever it might be. We've got people moving from out of state. I do a lot with referrals and relocating people out here for different jobs, and so that luxury market has not been as hit as some of the others, unless it was, maybe like an investment property or something like that. But really, those kind of two ends of the spectrum have kind of been going steady. I call it sludgy, maybe a little sludgy, but at the same time, still moving forward. But that middle market really is has been really hard the last few years. So usually, those are take a little longer to sell because a lot of people, they just don't have that cash. They're kind of careful with their cash right now. So what we're kind of seeing is a kind of an early start to the spring market. I will be listing, I believe this month, I'm listing at least 5 properties, maybe even 7. And so we're starting to see more inventory come on the market. I'm very excited about that. And as well with my buyers, I've got buyers that are, not as concerned about interest rates. I think that they've kind of gotten used to it. They don't like it, but they know that the trajectory is going to be going down. And so, because of that, they would rather purchase now and pay a lower purchase price, pay the higher interest rate, and then, refinance maybe in a year or two. Or whenever it's right. It might even be a time to refinance, even in 6 months. And so there's a lot that's going on right now in the market. What I'm watching is also kind of on the world stage, just kind of seeing what's going on as well. Utah's kind of an interesting market because we are not hit as hard as some of these other markets like Florida, California, Las Vegas. Those have been areas where a lot of investors have come in the last few years and put money, and so now they're starting to sell. So those markets have been hit even harder than Utah. Utah kind of took a little bit of a dip, and depending on the product that you're selling, it definitely had an impact. But really, overall, not too bad. So things are basically sustaining. They're doing well. I just spoke with some of the builders that I work with, and a lot of them are actually raising their pricing. And they'll be raising their pricing, they said, by summer. And so we're starting to see some little bits. Some is due to the tariffs, but also we're seeing that just labor costs also are going up. And so they're having a hard time being able to build at the same price. And so that, a lot of people get upset and they say, well, they're raising their price on new construction. Well, sometimes they just have to. Because their margins get to be pretty tight between labor force, tariffs, and supplies and things like that as well. So right now is probably one of the most optimal times. You can still get sometimes incentives. I work with a lot of builders, so talk to me if you're looking at buying something that's new or existing, because they are running some different specials. It sounds like the grocery store here, but they're running different incentives as far as maybe paying your closing cost. Sometimes I can negotiate in like even a fridge or washer dryer There's things that I'm able to do and save my clients more money. So if you're thinking about possibly buying, selling in 2026, I would say let's talk sooner than later. Give me a call so we can just kind of make a plan. As you know, most of you know me, I'm very low pressure. I'm not even any pressure at all. I just want to see you make the best decision and gross the most amount of money you can, or get a really great equity play. Right now, there's some properties. I've got a few actually in Pleasant Grove right now that a builder's closing out a subdivision. And so they've discounted them by almost 10%. So you'd be walking into a really nice equity play right now. So I've got some things off the market as well as on the market, some different deals depending on what you're looking to do. And even if you're just exploring the idea, give me a call so that we can talk about it and let's just see what would be right for you. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today, and I'll see you next time on High on Utah.